Welcome to Arlen's Garden, where we grow and preserve food. Yesterday I picked a bunch of beans, and today we're going to preserve our beans, and we're going to can them, pressure can them. Beans need to be pressure canned because they have enzymes in them, and pressure canning is actually just cooking them down a bit. And the beans start out of the garden. The beans are this, about this long. There's some nice ones, and I'm maybe getting a harvest every week. So they won't fit in a jar like this that well. Some might like it like that if you're gonna pickle these, but we generally can get more beans in a jar. So we just we snap this little end off. We don't like to eat that. So, you don't throw that in our thing. Then half would be kind of nice. It'll fit in. Sometimes you want smaller. In the store, when you buy beans, they're really short because they got to fit them in a small can, and they want to get as many beans in the can. So there's just, I don't know if you could hear that snap. And put my glasses on here. And see, the bean is actually in here. I'll snap this first. And the bean is actually inside there in that fat part. See that? That's the bean. So for us, that's about the right size. The beans could get big, and then we just kind of like that size or bigger, like that. So yeah, the beans are in that little husk, they call it. The husk is everyone eats the husk. And I don't know what kind of beans these are. I don't think they're kind of beans that you could peel and dehydrate the bean part. There's special beans for that. Anyway, so we got 4 of these containers, and another pail being cut down. So that's the first step. This is yesterday's work. So our next step is we take the beans. They're just right from the garden, and dirt and mud or whatever the sprinklers got on them. So we rinse them off really good in our colanders, and then we go straight from here to the jars, and we stuff as many as we can in there. And then shake it down a bit, get more in there, and then we need to add hot water to that. So we boil water, and then we pour the water in there. And then there's the best thing to do is you need about a half inch of headspace to make it work right. Too much, the pressure doesn't hold very good if you have water down to here, or not enough water, and then too much water, the pressure is too high. So the rule of thumb is half inch. So that's about half inch. That's almost right there. This is about 3/4 of an inch right here. So we're gonna do half inch, and then the lids. There's a thing we do with the lids. They have a kind of rubberized seal on that. So we heat that up so that's sticky. And then we put on the jar, and then we have the big lid we put on top, and then we tighten it down, but not super tight. We just turn it. If you're doing this and you're a man, just a half a turn, a snug fit, because it's hard to get off those. And plus, if you squish that seal out, you might have a gap there. So there's a lot of things that you learn as you go. So we'll just demonstrate this on our 6 jars, and then we have about 40 jars to do. Then we'll head to the canner and show you all that. So this is the process here. The beans fit nicely in there. Those long beans kind of lay on their side, but they have Yeah, just shake them down a bit.
Oops. All right.
So there's one full. So it's that when I said there's a 1/2 inch headspace, it's not always the beans, it's just a liquid. Just make sure your liquid's at the top. And then that's a teaspoon of salt goes in each one, and that's ready for the water. Normally we do this faster, but we're showing you how it's done. This is probably the easiest one for prep, because it's the one-step process of getting the beans to the right size. Potatoes are a little bit longer because we gotta cube all the potatoes. Then salsa, we got to blanch the tomatoes and take off the skins and chop up what we need. So the tomatoes is a process, but the tomatoes don't need to be pressure canned. So that part's easier. With the tomatoes, hot bathing is a lot easier. And anyway, so
Usually Arlen's the one doing the beans, and then he hands them over. You're usually packing the jars.
yeah, we each have our jobs here in this thing, so makes it quicker for 2 people. And I googled it last night. There's about, they think, 2 pounds of beans per jar to fill a quart jar. And because I wanted to weigh how much beans I had last night, and didn't have a scale, so I'm gonna get a scale for next time. But I'm going to we're gonna find out if we go 2 pounds per jar. Yeah, it might be. Seems like it's 1 pound. I'd say 1 pound, but anyway. So that's how you do that part of it. We'll catch back up when we start adding the water. We take our cans that we stored in the basement last year, and we brought them up, and then we throw them in the dishwasher overnight, and it gets them all sterilized. Here, gets them all sterilized, and then the jars are hot, and so when we use them, it's just a lot easier for the lids to seal and everything like that. So I think we put 43 jars in here, quarts in here. All right, that's how we sterilize the jars. This part of our operation is the adding of the water to the jar of beans. It looks like we don't have to add a full quart. We're just adding enough to seal that off to preserve so the beans don't dry. There is a thing as dry canning, but we haven't ever learned that, and we're not going to do that. So Lisa's going to do it to make sure we have a 1/2 inch of head space, and we figured it was in there a little over halfway.
Like about, right?
Yeah.
Probably a little above this part, but we'll just do it there to make sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our step there, and the salt.
That's hot.
And the salt gets absorbed and dispensated in that. So we got 3 canners, and we do 7 quarts in each canner. So we're prepping 21 of these jars, and then we let that sit for a long time. I'll explain that later. but maybe tonight we'll can the rest of them. That is a good color. I like those beans. They're nice and bright. This part of our operation is the adding of the water to the jar of beans. It looks like we don't have to add a full quart. We're just adding enough to seal that off to preserve so the beans don't dry. There is a thing as dry canning, but we have never learned that, and we're not going to do that. So Lisa's going to do it to make sure we have a ½ inch of head space, and we figured it was in there a little over halfway.
Like about, right?
Yeah.
Probably a little above this part, but we'll just do it there to make sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our step there, and the salt.
That's hot.
And the salt gets absorbed and dispensated in that. So we got 3 canners, and we do 7 quarts in each canner. So we're prepping 21 of these jars, and then we let that sit for a long time. I'll explain that later. But maybe tonight we'll can the rest of them. Okay, before we fill the beans, or seal the lids, we have to wipe off the lids, dry them out real nice, get any extra salt for sure, because we're putting salt in there, because the salt will eat through that seal, or the seal won't sit properly. So we get right on, it's just on the top row, on the top lip. You don't have to wipe everything down. So the next step will be we have a little magnetic holder there. So you dip in the hot water, you put them on there, and that will be good.
That water's hot.
Lisa likes to make sure those lids are warm. You just learn canning traditions from moms and grandmas or friends, and you stick with what works. It's hard to trust the new tradition when you have all your jars on and your food on the line. So we have our way of doing it, and it works really good. So we're just going to tighten that, hand tight, and then we're and then I'll throw that back in there and prepped it a bit. All right, we got our beans ready for the canner. Now we're going to put the canners together, because this is our first canning of the season. So every canner comes with vent holes, a weight. How many ounces? Remember?
No, that's
There's 2 different weights, but
yeah.
Then there's a hole for the canners we have a pressure gauge. So there's a hole for that, and then there's some threads there that need to be. So that white one fills that hole up like that, and then there's a washer and a nut.
Oops.
And so you just tighten it by hand. That's all you need to do. Don't get the tools out.
I like it pushed over here. I like it away from this vent. I usually point it
There's
that
a
way.
vent right there that kind of sprouts up.
Okay. And you always start out with about 3 quarts of water in the bottom.
3 quarts on the bottom, and that's enough steam. That'll create enough steam for the cans, jars.
And
Then we stick it on our propane, and then we fill it up. I'll just give it. So this will hold 7.
oh, you know, I don't think I need the little things for the bottom
Oh, there is a.
shelf. I gotta go find those actually.
Okay.
We'll edit that out and we'll show them. I'll just open it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually,
7.
7.
So these are called regular mouth jars. They're smaller. And then there's wide mouth jars, and we have a trouble getting 7 wide mouth jars in here. So we know that 6 regular mouth jars fit. So then there's directions how to seal this lid. Arrows here and an arrow here. I don't know if you could see that. And so then
you line up the
you
arrows.
put it on, and then it's sealed. And then that's good. Then we do the opposite. Once it's we'll show you that. Once it's totally done, after we leave it for 5 or 6 hours. Then you could open that. But this is the most dangerous part is opening that with full pressure of steam. It'll just blow into your face, burn your skin. So we just don't even take a chance. We just take a break from canning, let that thing do its work, and then later we come back at night or something and get that taken out.
Okay.
All right, got the canners. We got 21. 7 times 3 is 21. And then we're gonna put the lids back on, and then we're gonna get the propane going. Okay, next part of this process is getting the propane started. And we start it at really low heat and let it work from there. If we had trouble when we started at high heat, then we're venting a lot of steam all day long or all during the process. So we discovered last year to start with low, and you only have to vent steam through 2 or 3 times. So I'll get this started. Open this up. And I open it up really slowly because there's a safety valve in here that will shut off your propane if it thinks it's a leak. So we had trouble last year. So I open it up slow, and it's on. So you have to go way over to low, and then I'm gonna use my see if it's going. Yep. All right, we have our canning system going, and hasn't built up any pressure yet. And we're down 1 canner because that gauge broke. They last pretty good, but we canned a lot. We canned over 300 quarts and pints, so they don't last forever. And we ordered some from Amazon, so we're going to do 14 quarts at a time until we get our gauge. Till next week we get our gauge back. All right, we decided to get we have a canner that has without gauge. So what you do is put the weighted, after that thing pops up and it's blown out good steam, you have a weight there, and it'll slightly rattle when the steam pressure is nice. It'll rattle a lot if it needs to be vented, and then it won't rattle at all if it needs more heat or anything. So the most impatient part about this whole thing is getting the thing to boil, to steam. So If you turn it up too much, then you have to deal with a lot of steam at the end of the canning thing. All right, we got the canners going, and we got this one's without a gauge, and it's rocking nicely. That is the rocking you'd like to see. It's a good pressure. This one has been sitting at 10 pounds, 11 pounds. We have the heat adjusted so nicely. But if it ever gets over 12 to 15, I'll just vent it out. See that? That's up, meaning it's full pressure. Steam's inside. And then that's rocking nicely. And then there's steam coming out. I don't want to stick my hand in there, but now it's time to cover that and then start timing 25 minutes.
When it gets up to 10, you'll time.
Oh yeah. When we get to full 10 pounds, then we'll start the timer at 25. So this will take a minute or two. This is how I monitor all three canners. And if something needs to happen, I just lean forward, and I'm a little bit farther away, but I'll tip up and let the steam out and sit back down. All right, this is our, when we can, we got to vent that steam. So the gauge says 12. I got to vent it at 15, and this gauge says about 12. And I got to vent that same thing at 15. You can hear the rumblings inside of the steam. We have it turned down as low as we can, so not to create any excess steam, but looks like this one's gonna go first. I have this long screwdriver. I just stay in my chair and hit the that there. I can smell green beans, cooked green beans. I go down to about 11. This one's at almost 15, so I'm going to vent this one. The hotter it is outside, the more steam you got to vent. It's just, we have our heat on low, it's still going to be like this. But in the fall, it'll be a little bit easier to control. That's venting the steam. We got to vent it down to 10 pounds. That's straight up on the gauge. And I got the screwdriver, long screwdriver to do that. This one's holding its own for now. Yeah, it's just hard to control the heat now.
The first one, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Time to vent that one. I got 5 minutes left on this first one. That'll be the 25-minute time needed. So that'll be nice to get rid of that 5-minute one. Both went up. There we go. Both went. That's how we can, and that's how you control the pressure inside the canner. Well, it's the end of the day, and we have, these are our beets that we canned, and we have 21 beets, 21 green beans here, and in the canners that we just finished pressure cooking, we have another 12, so we have 33 altogether, and this is the end result. We don't really handle these until tomorrow morning. We'll leave them out overnight, and then we'll put them downstairs in our pantry. All right, thank you. Well, that ends our day, so please that ends our day, so please like and subscribe for more gardening, canning, and miscellaneous tasks that I do. Thank you for watching. Bye.